Hello everybody. Well, so far we've been previewing college football for 2011. We've talked about the BCS conferences, and we've also talked about the best of the rest, the BCS Busters, and in the next few weeks we'll be talking about Big 12 football, as we'll give every school their own preview show for the second straight season. So make sure to check that out on this very webpage. But we got to first of all talk about the Texas Longhorn television network, something that's been getting a lot of talk around these parts. I'm sure in Austin, Texas, if you don't know about it by now, I really don't know where you've been, because it's, again, getting a lot of talk. The network is set to debut in late August. It's in conjunction with ESPN, 20 years, $300 million. Texas is already the highest making and most profitable school in all of the country, and obviously this just adds more pennies to the pot. People have asked me, how do I feel about the Longhorn Network? Do I think it's good? And do I think that eventually Oklahoma will get their own network? Well, I'll answer the second part of that question first. Yes, I do think Oklahoma will land their own television network. Joe Castiglione has been adamant about it. He really wants it. I would expect either next year or in 2013 it'll become reality. I don't think ESPN, though, would be the partners of it, since they're already joined up with Texas. Fox Sports, I would imagine, would be a carrier, a possible carrier of the network. It wouldn't pay as much as Texas, because Texas, that Longhorn network, you can broadcast it in quite a few Texas markets, and of course Dallas and Houston are major markets, so advertising, the money would, there'd be more money with the Longhorn network than there would be with Oklahoma, but still OU'd make a pretty good chunk of change from it. Now, to answer the first part of the question, do I think it's a good thing? I don't have a problem with it personally. I really don't. I think anytime you have an opportunity to give your program even more exposure and an opportunity to make more money, if it's within the rules, which this certainly is, then who am I to say, Texas, you can't have your own network? Who's anybody to say that? Trust me, if it were your school, and let's say you're not a Texas fan, let's say you're a Missouri fan, and your school was the first to launch its own network, the Missouri Tiger Network, hypothetically saying, trust me, you would not have a problem with it. You would absolutely love it. And for anybody to say otherwise, you know, it sounds like maybe jealousy or animosity. For Texas, they were the first to do it. They wanted to do it for a while. They passed up going to the Pac-10 conference so that they could have their own network and stay in the Big 12 conference. So we knew it was going to happen, and now it's reality. 24-hour network. They'll show past events. They'll show present events as well, as far as Texas athletics. Also show some academics as well. And they have the exclusive rights to 2 football games, to where they're going to air those games live. The first one will be the season opener against Rice, and then the other game is a game that will be released sometime during the season, and it's going to be a Big 12 game. For the most part, I don't have a problem with the Longhorn Network. However, there are a couple of things about it that make me a little uneasy. First of all, the fact that they do get to broadcast a Big 12 game. And I don't know who the opponent's going to be. Nobody knows yet. It'll just depend on how the season plays out. But let's just say it's Oklahoma State. Let's say it's OSU at Texas, and you're an OSU fan. If you find out the game's going to be broadcasted through the Longhorn Network, you're not going to like it at all. You'll still get to watch the game live. I imagine that the game will be fed through some third party, through cable outlets in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa, so that way the game's at least accessible to you. But it's going to be broadcasted through the Longhorn Network, and remember, their broadcasters are going to be paid by the University of Texas. So good luck to you trying to get a 50-50, fair and unbiased and impartial broadcast. Probably not going to happen. Now, it's not going to be to the extent to where they're going to say, Texas is great, OSU, you suck. It's not going to be anything like that, but it will be a slanted broadcast toward Texas. You can't tell me otherwise. So you're not going to like it. Now you can say, well, just turn the television volume down and turn the radio up, so that way you can hear Dave Hunsiker broadcast the game through the Cowboy Network. So that way you can get the best of both worlds, just without the television volume. That doesn't work either, because the broadcast from trying that in the past myself personally. They're never in sync. The radio broadcast is usually a few seconds ahead of the television broadcast. So when you see Justin Blackmon catch a 25-yard pass, or you hear him catch a pass to the radio, 5 seconds later, you'll see it on television. So that's a big headache to try to enjoy a game like that. You can't enjoy it. So that's one thing I wish that hadn't happened. Initially, Texas was promised one live football game. Now they get two, with one of those games being a Big 12 game. Them broadcasting the Rice game doesn't matter, because if you saw that game last year between Rice and Texas, that game was in Houston, the home city of Rice. The crowd was 90% orange. They did, shots of the crowd. It was burnt orange almost all the way around Reliant Stadium. I'm sure some people don't even realize that Rice still has a football program. Not just talking people in general, I'm talking about people who go to Rice. So that part doesn't bother me at all. If you're going to broadcast a game, make sure it's a low-profile game. But for the Big 12, where the games take on even more significance, I wish Texas wasn't granted the rights to one Big 12 game. So that's just my thoughts on it. The other thing, too, and this is of really less significance, but it's worth mentioning, how did Texas get the rights to broadcast high school sports? Because this is supposed to be a Longhorn network devoted toward Longhorn athletics and academics, which it is, but now they're given permission to do high school sports. That part doesn't make sense to me, and trust me, I'm not implying at all that Texas would use this as a recruiting tool, saying, you know what, if your son or daughter comes to Texas, we'll broadcast one of their games. I don't think things like that would happen unless it was proven to me otherwise. So I'll give Texas the benefit of the doubt there. I mean, if you're going to have a Longhorn network, it should be Longhorn network and not high school implicated. So that's just my thoughts on that. But for the most part, I don't have a beef with the Longhorn network. In fact, I can't wait till OU launches their network. I wish they had one right now, but they'll get one over time, and I think it'll be just as successful as what Texas is about to launch here in a few weeks. So that's my thoughts on the Longhorn network. Again, my Big 12 previews will resume on July 21st when we'll talk about the Missouri Tigers. That's all for now. Take it easy.